Hey everybody, and welcome back to Live Between Paychecks Kitchen. I'm Oz, Jack and later still like Jackson. This is coming from my little shitty apartment kitchen. Now, I forgot the one on Tuesday, basically because the brain weasels were beating me up and I felt bad, so we're going to make up for it. It's time to make Texas chili, proper chili. Not that bullshit that you put beans in it where you're making a bean stew. We're making Texas, a bowl of red, man. We're talking Texas chili. Unlike my friend Bailey, I mean, I'm not going to yuck your yum, you're just making bean stew is all you're doing. Before we get into it, be sure to like, share, subscribe, do the YouTube stuff, ring the little notification bell to get these when I upload them on Tuesdays and Fridays when I remember the brain weasels aren't getting me. And there's also a link down the doobly for our merch. And let's just get into the food. I know you don't want to listen to me talk and jam around about how everybody's doing chili wrong by putting beans in it. Let's just do the food. All right, there's a lot of good stuff here. The big thing is you're going to need 2 pounds of the burger. This is your big investment. This is labeled as 7, but you got to get it for cheaper. You got to get the coupons and stuff like I did. You're going to want 2 big yellow onions, medium to big. You want 4 cups of beef broth here. I got it at H-E-B, which is really lucked out. I got a friend that works over there, so I got it a lot cheaper than whatever, but this still pushes in our stuff. You're going to need 4 cups of that. Garlic, you're going to need 2 or 3 cloves. I'm going to use a couple tablespoons of the already diced stuff, but you want to mince it down pretty good. You want the small can of tomato paste, that's the 6 ounces, and the big one of diced tomatoes, that's 28 or 29, depending on the ounces where you come from. You want some brown sugar, that's 1 tablespoon of that. You need some chili powder, a 1/4 cup of that stuff. I'm using the chipotle stuff. Paprika, you're going to need a tablespoon of that. I'm using the smoked one because I'm fancy. You're going to need some cumin, 2 tablespoons of that, which is kind of what makes it chili. And you're going to need some salts, which is just a little bit of that. What is it? Like 1 teaspoon of that. All right. Also, you're going to need 2 tablespoons of oil. Vegetable oil is fine. I use olive oil because I'm fancy. Now, what you're going to top it with? Cheese, jalapenos, sour cream, which is one of my favorite things to put on there. Green onions, whatever you top it with, or you can just leave it by itself. But now we're talking, you're going to need crackers. Regular old broke-ass, saltine stuff. Make sure they have salt on them. This one's got sea salt, broke-ass, bottom of the thing. Crackers, this is what this is. Or if you're in Texas, go to H-E-B, spend a little more, and get the jalapeno crackers from Hobbs. These are amazing. Hobbs Bites. Absolutely worth it. So first things first, you want to get the skin and the butt and the head off of your onion. So once you get those nice and skinned down or whatever, like I say, you don't need to clean them because you just skinned them. Get you a nice sharp knife and you want to dice this down as best you can. Best way to do it is just knife over one way. Keep your knife at an angle here. I'll show you what I mean in a minute. Do it one way, line everything back up. Like putting it back together like a puzzle, and then doing it again across the other way. Anything bigger, you're risking just mouthfuls of onion. Anything smaller, it might just melt into nothingness, so you got to be careful. But you're going to do 2 full ones, just set them aside. So this is what I was talking about. You cut it, so you roll your knife as you're cutting, right? Instead of just doing straight up and down, tick. I always just roll it. Makes me feel better. Makes the sizes more, uniform. Get you a decent skillet or decent pot, something deep enough to hold all this. This is my biggest skillet, and it won't hold it all, but I'm going to show it because my big pot kind of covers everything up. We'll warm it up with a wok. So you want it about medium here because you're going to cook burger and stuff in it. So you're going to start with your 2 tablespoons of whatever oil you got. Okay, I'm using olive oil. You can use vegetable oil. You can use any kind of oil you want, but I like the olive stuff just because it makes me feel fancy. So now you want to put all your onion in there. It's 2 of them, 2 full onions. It looks like a lot, but it's going to cook down. It's going to really add flavor to this stuff, okay? Get you a nice spoon. A wooden spoon is great. I'm using a slotted one just because it's easier to use. Get it tossed around the oil, let it start cooking. It's going to take 5-6 minutes, maybe 8, depending on your elevation and where you actually live, when it just starts to get see-through, all right? So just cook it. If it's the whole thing goes see-through, where it almost disappears and goes transparent, you're going too much. Now this, you still got a little bit of white in it. See, but if you pick it up, it's kind of transparent. So once you do that, you go ahead and add your garlic, which is 2 or 3 cloves. You can dice, but I get the pre-diced stuff, and I use 3 tablespoons because I love garlic, and I always add way too much. I just keep putting it until my ancestors come out and say stop. So put that in there, and it cook for about a minute or so. All right, you can leave it in for 2 to 3 if you really want, but this is where it starts getting aromatic, and your house is going to smell amazing. So let this cook in. The garlic's going to cook faster than your onions. So be sure to just stir it in, get it nice and mushed in there, and put that garlic down on the bottom. So kind of span it out to kind of separate the heat, okay? So once you've been cooking that for about a minute or so, let's add your beef. 2 tubs, or this 1 big flat piece that I got here. Just go ahead and break it down. It doesn't have to be teeny tiny small. It doesn't have to be like throw some ground beef. There could be small chunks in it. It gets it seared pretty good. So cook this for 5 to 8 minutes, depending, where it starts to sear, it starts to brown. Like I said, that'll go from this color to pink to a whitish color, gray, and then brown. When it starts to brown just a little bit, we're going to work on our next part. So be sure to stir this around. Be sure to put the meat on the metal. Don't let just the onions take all the heat. You're going to put all that, the actual burger, down through your vegetables and down onto the skillet. So yeah, it's going to take a little bit. Just don't worry about it too much. This is when I started realizing that the skillet was not going to be big enough for our pots, but my big pot's hard to film in. So, like I'm saying, it's still a little pink on the edges, but it's starting to brown in the middle, so be sure to stir it, move the middle to the outside, especially, it's on my favorite burner, but it needs to move to the outside a little bit, okay? So, this is when it's starting to brown. You see what's browning? Now let's add all your stuff. You're going to add the chili powder. I screwed up. It's 4 tablespoons to do a 1/4 cup. I screwed up the math somehow and got 2.5, so I add some more later. Now you get your cumin. Do 2 tablespoons of cumin. You want to do a, what is it? Brown sugar, I think is what I grabbed next. No, use your tablespoon of paprika, which I use the smoked stuff. You can use whatever you want. Yeah, the brown sugar, you want to do the 1 tablespoon of that. Depending on your preference, you want sweeter, you can add 2, but I just used 1. Now you want salt or kosher salt, just do 1 tablespoon of that, and then if you need salt later, it's just to taste. But, you know, when you're just doing your whole patch, I just put 1 in there. So just put it all in there, and again, I forgot about my chili powder. Now, you want, the recipe calls for a 1/4 cup. I usually do, that's 4 tablespoons for your 1/4 cup. I do 5 because spice and Texas. So do with that as you will. 4 is traditional, 5 is just me trying to burn my face. So get all that. Be sure to nice and stir it around. Let that cook for 3 to 4 minutes. When it's getting stirred, again, stir it pretty regularly. When this first starts, it's a lot of stirring and a lot of moving stuff around, especially when you moving around your pot and you have just this one pot that barely holds everything. So make sure it gets all stirred, get all that stuff in there. Now add your tomatoes. It's the full thing of the diced tomatoes and the full thing of tomato paste. The tomato paste is going to be a pain in the tuchus to fix and get it on there since it's so thick, and you can see how the machine kind of mushed it down the middle. So to save on utensils and having to wash stuff, I just used my big tablespoon that I had to wash anyway. And it just stuck to every bit of this. So try to get it out as much as possible. Alright, so you put it in the seasoning, let it cook for 2 or 3 minutes, and then you add your tablespoon. Now I dropped it in there by accident. I was just going to leave it in there and let it cook off the edges, so they turned into this thing. So get you another spoon, spatula, we have them down in the doobly-doo, and scrape all that stuff off as much as you can because you want to keep it in there. You take it, soak it into what juice and oils you have left, and kind of soak it and let it saturate, and it'll slip off there pretty well. Now get this nice and stirred around. You want to stir it until that tomato paste is nice and blended in. It gets really thick, so you're going to need to blend it in there. So this took about a minute and a half to get it all stirred in, and I thought I was done, and then I find a big hunk of tomato paste hidden in there. So just stir it until it comes down pretty good, okay? Once you get all that nice and mixed in, then you got to find something that's going to hold 4 more cups of material. Now, I realize this is not going to hold 4 cups, so the biggest thing I have, other than my big pot that's hard to cook in, is my wok. So I added it in there. So 4 cups. This one is actually 4 full cups already. So just put it in there. If it's not coming out fast enough, stab it. And it'll pour out a lot faster. Give it a little breathing hole. Put it in there. Now you want to stir that. Right, get it nice and stirred, make sure it's everything. It looks really wet. Now if you prefer the super thick stuff, like comes in like Wolf brand chili where it's been cooked down to like super thick, like almost putty paste kind of stuff until it heats up, only use like 3.5, but traditional calls for 4, and it cooks down, so it's not nearly this wet when we get down to the end of it when it's been cooking for an hour. So you want to cook it. You want to take it and turn it down to low, medium low. I put it on like 1, right above a simmer. Set you a timer for 15 minutes. You want to come in and stir it every 15 minutes. You want to cook it for an hour minimum, okay? So just come in here, and then this is after our first 15 minutes. You can see how it's thickening up. It's not near as watery or soupy as it looked, but it's going to keep cooking down like that. Like, again, if it's getting too hot or you can feel stuff starting to stick to the bottom, your fire's too hot, turn it down lower. Always go lower. Don't worry about stirring it more. Now you can start to see this is our second. This is going to be 30 minutes in. Give it a nice thick. See, this is turning into a chili. This is amazing. This is our 45-minute mark. Again, don't have to do anything else. I didn't cover it because I just don't have a wok cover. But yeah, it worked pretty well. Once you get it in there for an hour, go ahead and pull it off. You can top it with whatever you want. Now, This is what it was doing the regular, because I didn't film dressing it. I was just too hungry to deal with it. But cook it for an hour. If it's too thick, let it keep cooking, and it'll cook down until you can see the meat poking up out of the water. You don't want to have any water sitting up over your meat. So I top mine with a little bit of shredded super sharp cheddar, some green onions, sour cream, and some jalapeno slices. Put it next to those Hobbs Bites stuff. Is absolutely amazing. One of the best things on the planet. It's what I always root for. And then I keep jalapeno around just in case it's not spicy enough so I can bite into it. But just bare bones, this is what you want. You want the chili in a bowl, get you some regular old broke-ass saltines, and this is what Texas is made for. This is just the absolute greatest thing. You can use it for meal prep. It'll last on top of the stove for at least 4 days that we learned growing up because we were poor and did not throw stuff out. So chili is amazing. It's one of my favorite things. It's great for this kind of weather, so you got to try this one. It does push the edge of our budget for this big a batch. You can always just have the recipe and make it a smaller batch for cheaper, but this was absolutely amazing. Y'all got to try this one. And there you have it, folks. That's an awesome Texas chili, a bowl of red. This is what you want to get. This is what you want to make. This is amazing. Let me know if you try it differently or you two are differently. Put it in the comments. Tell me how much you love chili in yours and knock yourself out with it. But this is awesome. Let us know here. You can also let us know over on social media. We're on Facebook, Pinterest, Patreon, we're on all those. And Live Between Paychecks Kitchen. We're also on Instagram at Live Between. Had to shorten it down over there. Me, Osway Nerdy, I'm on all of those, including TikTok and Twitter under Osway Nerdy. You can look me up over there doing all kind of crazy stuff. And I'll see y'all next time. Y'all enjoy the autumn and the chili.